Hey, welcome to the Randy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. You know, this guy was behind home plate last night, Matthew Rocchio. So he's getting a lot of TV time lately. How you doing?
Gotta look good.
Okay, I got to tell you,
a little practice.
I just called up the St. Louis Blues sweater schedule for 25-26. Did you know that this was a thing?
I didn't know they told us ahead of time. Now I can match, though. I'm happy.
Yeah, you can. So
color
October
coordinate
9th against Mini. That is the opener, correct? And they're going to go with the old new.
Ooh.
Then they're going to go on the road and wear the new white jerseys. And then the first time they wear
wow, this is a very interesting graphic. Yeah, it's literally the picture of the jersey next to the scheduled game.
Right. So stlblues.com/jersey. Make sure that you're still listening to us on the YouTube. But then, so you go to stlblues.com/jersey, and they're going to wear their third jersey on Saturday, the 18th of October against Dallas. That's the first time they wear that. Most of the time, we're going to see the regular home jersey. But I like the fact that they have, for those of us that have multiple jerseys, we can wear one that matches the team that's playing that night. So let's go Blues.
I love that. Get it, for me, that I can wear the right shoes.
Yep,
I'm happy. They need to get this information out to the masses, and thank God they did. That's obviously the only thing we're going to be talking about from the Blues today.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Nothing else more important.
No, there isn't. So we've got reverse retro action going at some
Woohoo!
point. We've got to have reverse. Come on, where's my
yeah, because there's the Wayne Gretzky bobblehead night is going to be a reverse retro or a retro night, because you got to do the clown jerseys.
Yeah, I like the idea, by the way, of a Wayne Gretzky, even though he only played 18 regular season games with the Blues. I do like the idea. There it is, January 29th against the Panthers.
He's the greatest 99 to ever play for St. Louis. We decided. Didn't we decide
no
that?
No question about that.
Yeah, come on.
That's easy. So the Cardinals lost last night. We'll talk about that. Mizzou starts tonight. We'll talk about that. Central Arkansas is the opponent. We've already talked Blues, which is great. We've got a little bit more Blues news for you later on in the show. But let's start with the fact that the crown is yours. And here we are. It's unbelievable, but I love it. The first full weekend of college football, and I'm very excited about it.
Absolutely go. Yeah. I'm so happy. And we just have so much college football to watch now.
Is this your favorite time of year? It's my favorite time of year.
That's a really good question. Yeah, probably. I think the spring. I like the spring better, because you get basketball. Baseball's also starting. I always was an NFL draft guy. So like in April, you're getting the NFL draft as well. The weather is usually like this. We don't get this in August very often. We're not chilling in the 70s.
For me, it's generally like the couple of weeks after Labor Day when you have the college football starting, you've got the NFL starting, you've got the baseball pennant races, you've got hockey training camp starting off. It's just and the weather is spectacular, and it was really fun when the Cardinals be in pennant races.
Wow, yeah, that
October was fun.
17 games tonight, 11 games tomorrow, 60 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday, and then a game on Monday on Labor Day. Just a full slate. Ben Scott Stevens tweeted out, and he put it together. And based on average times of games, in the next 5 days, you have 40 hours of college football to watch.
That's good. So you've got one this afternoon at 4:30 on ESPN. You got Boise State and South Florida. And I obviously am looking forward to Mizzou. I'm looking forward to the Fox Big Noon on Saturday, Texas and Ohio State. I'm also looking forward to wasting my time on Sunday night for Notre Dame and Miami.
Yeah.
It used to be criminals versus or Catholics versus convicts. Notre Dame and Miami.
What it should be.
Kind of lost some of its luster.
Did you hear about, speaking of teams of not, of rivalries and their names dying and things like that? Did you hear the report about how the broadcasters weren't supposed to use the term Farmageddon between Iowa State and Kansas State? How dumb is that?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Why would you hamper the fun? And who has a problem with making jokes about Armageddon? Like, we're really going to start with that's how lily livered we're going to be now.
That's where we are.
Is that you can't even make some jokes about the end of the world? Come on, pansies.
Do we still not call a game with high scoring where a couple of quarterbacks are gunslingers? You can't call that a shootout. The Red River Shootout,
barn burner,
a great thing. But a shootout was fine.
Yeah.
And then they decide, well, no, because that'll cause kids to want to use guns.
Oh, yeah. No. It's the Red River rivalry now, isn't it?
I don't know if it's even the Red River rivalry anymore.
It's not the Red River Shootout. That sucks.
Yeah. I don't. Maybe it is the Red River rivalry.
I think that's what they changed. That's what they changed it to get rid of the word shootout.
Yeah.
I can understand like changing the Bullets to the Wizards. That's fine, but not doing Farmageddon. We can't go that far, guys. Come on.
Okay, I'm going to look up what's the Oklahoma Texas.
I think it's Red River.
I hope it's still that. Called.
But I don't think they call. I think you're right. I don't think they publicly call it the Red River Shootout anymore.
It's the All-State Red River rivalry, and it was until 2005. It was the Red River Shootout.
That's such a cool name.
It's great, isn't it?
College. That's what makes college football so much damn fun.
And don't you think there probably was a shootout on the Red River at some point?
Yeah, there definitely was. I mean, there was a war on the border.
Yeah,
and that's why we have the border war.
Yeah. What would we call the Mizzou Kansas rivalry?
It's border war.
There was some nasty stuff that happened.
Yeah, it's the border war.
Yeah, but it really wasn't. Didn't we burn down Lawrence or something?
Yeah. So the problem is
happens.
I'm not a big fan of the historical Missouri Tigers because
too mean.
No, I have a different mindset on property than they do. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Missouri, the Missouri guys weren't exactly fighting for what I think was the correct side, nonetheless. But yeah, we burned down Lawrence, and we've been spilling blood. They came back and burned Columbia. So it's a whole thing. You have bleeding Kansas. It's very rough. So yeah, there literally was a border war.
So this could be Ben. Yes, both cities burned down the other city. This could be Ben. Also gave us a MIZFKU. There
Absolutely.
you go. Okay, got it. Okay, I like that. I
Spelled
like
the
the fact that you're a Mizzou fan. Our friend Bill Doughton, thank you very much for tuning in and being a part of the show. Why does everyone blame Brown and Blake but give Ali a pass? I don't blame Brant Brown or Blake Lively for anything. I think they're both. I think they've both done really good jobs this year. You aren't going to make everybody great. You aren't, as we mentioned to you yesterday, Bill. Not everybody's going to be an all-star. And if 50% of your prospects wind up being good players, you're doing pretty well. Generally, it doesn't work that well. I'm not blaming Brown or Blake for anything this year. This job was to find out whether or not guys could play, and not everybody's going to be able to become a good player. We have seen improvement from a guy like Nolan Gorman. We have seen continued good play and really kind of a rebound from Brendan Donovan. We've seen really good play, not all year, but we've seen really good play generally from Mason Wynn defensively. He's been exemplary all year long, but he can give you a little bit more offensively. Newt Barr has bounced back when he's been around. He's not been perfect. Obviously, you'd like to see more from Victor Scott. You'd like to see more from Jordan Walker, and then Herrera. You don't forget about Herrera's ascent. Again, he's struggled a little bit, but I think actually everybody's done a good job in that dugout. And what are you going to blame if you? I don't know what you blame Ollie Marmol for this year. There are certainly times where you can blame a manager for a team not winning or being a playoff contender. I don't think this is one of those times, Matthew.
Somebody was really mad that they came out flat in the Sunday game against Tampa Bay.
And that's 62.
That's Ollie's fault.
And that was a 4.5 hour rain delay.
Also, guys, people making millions of dollars should not need to be motivated to do their jobs.
Should not.
If you said that about somebody making $45,000 who worked in your office, they need to be motivated every day to do their job, and you're a bad manager if you don't find ways to motivate them, I would look at you and say, or the adults can motivate themselves because they're adults.
Yeah, and hey, you know what?
You expect that the manager's job in Major League Baseball is to motivate his players? That's what the money's for.
I get number one. Let's throw this out there. As Tony La Russa used to say, they're men, not machines. And one of the problems with the analytics movement is they do kind of think that pro athletes are robots. Well, you know what? Sometimes, just like you, and just like me, and just like Matthew, sometimes a pro athlete has trouble sleeping. And they don't get to sleep until like 5 a.m. And then they have to be up at 6 a.m. so that they can get breakfast and then get on a bus over to the ballpark.
And somebody burns their toast.
Yeah, right. Sometimes you're really tired when a game starts through no fault of your own. It just happens. It happens to everybody. And I'm not going to blame a manager because there might be personal issues that a player is dealing with, whether it's a health issue or whether it's a family issue. You know what? The things that affect you and I and Matthew, they affect pro athletes too. They are people after all. And I don't think that I've ever seen a player, and I've watched a lot of ball, and I used to cover the Cardinals literally every single day. I don't think I've ever seen anybody that was great every single day.
That's fair. That's fair. This could be Ben. Hot take. We need to bring in the outfield wall. It's not a hitter's park.
It's not. And a lot of that, I mean, you build Ballpark Village. It was more of a hitter's park before Ballpark Village was built. But then obviously the way the ball travels within the stadium changes, the wind patterns change. It is a really tough place to hit. Albert talked about that in his last year, how hard it is to hit a home run at Busch. You can do one of two things. You can either bring the walls in, or you can build a team like Whitey Herzog did. And I have no problem with being able to run. And then you get one big or two big time stud hitters in the middle of your lineup, like Jack Clark was for the 85 and 87 teams, and then just run like the wind, steal 314 bases. You teach people how to steal bases and get athletes to steal them. Let's
pivot here really quickly because we didn't get to play this clip, but I had it on the rundown last week. AJ Pierzynski on Foul Territory said that, and this is from Ali Marmol, that players don't want to steal bases because they're being told that any caught stealing is going to be held against them in their numbers in arbitration.
Yep.
And so players don't want to steal because they're going to get screwed by teams using it against them, and they're not going to get enough value for their success for steals for how much value they lose the few times they do get caught stealing. So in this economic world, and this is coming from Ali Marmol directly, how do you fix that? What is the solve there? Is there a way to do it?
Give them extensions, give them a contract,
make them trust you. So say
you've got your money. Now let's see if we can play some winning ball. When I talked to Ollie earlier in the season about whether or not they should give Victor Scott II a green light, and he said he's got a green light. He said, and we meet after every game, and sometimes we tell him, hey, look, this was a good spot to go, and this was a good spot to go, and he didn't. The Cardinals kind of thought, to your point, and I don't know if this was the Victor Scott situation, that the players had more opportunity to run that they didn't take advantage of. And the Cardinals would have loved to have, not just him, but the people with athletic ability like Wynn and those guys. The Cardinals would have liked to have seen them run more. But I buy into that 100%.
Yeah, I know you want to see me run more, but the same thing, like, I know you want to see me play three positions for you, but if you're going to turn around and say that I'm not an everyday player because I play three positions for you, if you're going to tell me that I don't deserve the money because I get outs on the base pass, then I understand players saying, I got to look out for me a little bit here.
Well, this is another issue with the analytics aspect of the game. And I think it's also a problem just with, not that the exorbitant amount of money is a bad thing. I think it's a really good thing. But I do think, to the point of the Cardinals, they need to get players extended so they aren't thinking about arbitration and stuff like that. One time, Carlos Correa went to Houston's front office the first time he was there and asked them, because he was going to be a free agent. I think had just hit arbitration, and he talked to some of the Astros front office people about what they look for when they pay a player a lot of money, and they gave him all the little things to increase his WAR. And so he started doing that. He started doing the things that increase WAR, and that allowed him to get to that point. And obviously, I think initially he had Boris. That helped him get a bunch of money too.
And here's the thing. That's actually the one time where I understand a team telling a player that's the one stat to focus on, because in contract negotiations, unless you're like the top player in the Major League Baseball, your comparisons are just your positions. If you're the top player in baseball, you're saying, I don't care if I'm a left fielder and he's a shortstop, I deserve to be the highest player playing baseball. But if we're talking about these mid-range ones, it's all about the other people at your position, which is what WAR tells you. So to tell a player, up your WAR, because that basically says, where are you in the echelon of second baseman or left fielders or first baseman, not in the echelon of all hitters. That's it's a useful way to tell players to go about it. But to your point, it eliminates apparently an entire aspect of the game because of the math. And that's a bummer.
A couple of things. Number one, Mogger Fogger. Okay, Ali saying that means that he doesn't have a strong backbone to run the club. This is every manager. This is Bruce Bochy. This is every manager in baseball that's dealing with this. Even the veteran guys, Ron Washington, Snitker, that they all deal with it. I also I like this from Brian Camfield because I want to ask you guys. He says, no hard feelings toward Ollie, but Bloom needs a fresh start. New manager, hitting coach, and pitching coach. And we've talked that there's certain guys that it seems clear that Chaim Bloom would have an affinity for, like Craig Alvarez, we've talked about with the Guardians, their bench coach. And I don't think it would sell very well to bring in Derek Shelton, but they have a history too. But Greg Hamsinger is all over the idea of Albert being the manager. He says, look, he wants to be a manager. We're in the entertainment business. Nobody's coming to the games. And if you want to build some excitement and entertain people, then you should name Albert Pujols as your manager. My question is this. If Albert Pujols is the manager, if number 5 is popping out of that dugout to make a pitching change, is that going to sell you a ticket? Is that going to prompt you to go to Cardinals.com and buy a ticket for the 2026 Cardinals if Albert Pujols is the manager? And I know this has happened, by the way, because on a different level, at a different place and time, when Charlie Spoonhour took over at St. Louis University, people bought tickets because Charlie Spoonhour was the coach. Now, they had confidence that the team was going to win. Charlie also had registered Spoonball and made money off of people coming to the games. I think it'd be smart for the Cardinals to at least look at that, although I wouldn't be a big fan of bringing in a manager that doesn't have any experience, right? That's an issue. But
with this roster,
I think another thing that they should do that Whitey got is, and they're going to draw they'll draw $1.5 million. So how about for every person that you sell a ticket, every ticket over 2 million that the Cardinals sell, Albert gets $5.
Yeah.
Make an incentive for the manager. In Whitey's time, it was $1 for every seat over 1 million. Then they sell 3.5 million in 1987. He did pretty well. But now probably not as many people, and the money is so much bigger. So I'm intrigued by that. Cody Wheel. They don't even have to be a manager, but just have them involved in the front office or something. That's Yadi and Molina, I'm sure they're talking about.
Yeah.
Or Yadi and Albert, not
yes.
Yadi and Molina. They're the same guy, Yadi and Molina.
One thing I'm throwing out here is, and this is where I'm at, Rich Camp 427, Yadi as manager would be cool, but if he sucks, and that 100% taints his legacy. And that's my thing. With this roster, I'm not saying this roster is that bad, but with the pitching and the lack of pitching you're going to have available next year, because a lot of these guys had Tommy John surgeries. They're not necessarily going to be available to start 2026. Albert Pujols is the manager for next year. And the Cardinals start like 20-40, like 15-35.
Do people still buy tickets? Yeah.
Or just what happens if it's just clear that he's just not getting through to guys on a day-to-day basis as a manager, and it's just like the team's 20 games below 500, and it's his first year as a manager, and it's like, oh God, what you're screwed.
Yeah,
you can't do anything. That is the definition of handcuffed as a manager and a GM. Why would you do that to yourself?
Bobby Plager was named the head coach of the Blues. I think it was 92, 93, 93, 94, one of those years. And he quit 13 games in because he hated it.
And that's the thing is, if Pujols didn't quit, you can't, what would the Blues ever have fired Bobby?
At that point, probably not.
And so that's my thing is like,
and why are managers hired?
Yeah,
to be fired. Right?
And so the optics, and that was back then. Now you have what today is. You have the history of Pujols, and even leaving the team in 2011, and then coming oh, that's such a risk to the memory and legacy. God, that'd be bad. There's so much potential for it to be rough, is all I'm saying.
Roger Sarge says that Albert had a personal services addendum to his contract, meaning he would spend the 10 years after his retirement with the Angels organization. Well, that is actually not. It's not a hard and fast
and where the paper is printed on.
Yeah. Albert says, I do what I want. And if Albert was offered, like Albert came here after his Angels career was over and played, and he's going to be a Cardinal Hall of Famer next year. He's going into the Cardinal Hall of Fame, even though he's under that Artie Moreno 10-year personal services contract. You're right. It's not worth the paper is printed on. He helps him out. He goes down to spring training for a week, might play in their golf tournament, but that is not a preventative that personal services contract to keep Albert Pujols from doing exactly what he wants in baseball.
This is a good point from Total Rocks. I think Albert would be fantastic. He's good with the young players. It's true. He likes the iPads. That's true. And he's better with the media. He is better with the media, but
better than Yachty?
No, he's better than he was when he was a player.
Oh yeah, he'd have to be.
But is Albert Pujols talking to the media 3 times a day?
I think
like Ali is.
I think you have to.
But is he doing that without losing his mind? Is my point.
Probably not. And Yachty wouldn't even do it.
Exactly.
But here's the way it works. And I think as great as Ali Marmol is for us, here's what happens. He meets with radio rights holders, with John Rooney, with Rooney, Claves, primarily Claves, Ricky Horton. Then he meets with BT and Chip and Jimmy the Cat Hayes. So he meets with both the rights holders. That's 2. Then he meets with the writers. That's 3. Then he meets with the electronic media. That's 4. And then he does a post game. That's 5. 5 media sessions a day for Ali Marmol. Now, most managers don't do that. Most of them, it's usually you have you do the rights holders thing because you have to do a radio interview. You meet with the TV people. Then you get the writers and the electronic media in a scrum. Then you have a post game. But that's still 4 times a day. And I don't know if Albert would have the appetite to do that. It's probably not very fun. And you get asked a lot of the same questions. And then there's ancillary things like when we have games on Matrix Midwest, he does a one-on-one with us. And when there are times, I'm sure, that Jimmy the Cat Hayes does the one-on-one with him. Cool. And obviously you do the in-game when you have the national people in town.
I don't know about you guys, but I've had a lot of fun listening to Ali join the Gas House gang over at Camo X as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's another.
That ain't happening with Albert Pujols. He ain't doing an hour. He ain't doing an hour-long radio show.
Yeah.
Mauger Frogger. I was told as a kid to listen to your coach, right? Guess that changes in the big leagues. Yes, because you're no longer a child not getting paid to play the game. Now it's your career and your livelihood. And things are probably going to change in ways that you wouldn't expect when we're comparing apples to oranges.
And there are some things, because the players, as you say, they're already making a lot of money. The minimum salary is $750,000 or whatever. And so I remember this happened when John Smoltz was playing, and it didn't really hit me. And then I think we had him on a show on the radio, and he was talking, I think we were talking about Carlos Martinez, and he said, I don't know why, because Carlos was throwing 99, 100 miles an hour, but there was no command. He said, I don't know why he doesn't dial it back 2 or 3 miles an hour to enhance his command. Logically speaking, and he said, I did this, Smoltz did this. If you dial it back 2 or 3 miles an hour, you have a better idea of where the ball is going when it comes out of your hand. And so I asked Mike Schilt about that. And he said, but you got to remember that I asked Matheny about it, and Mike was reticent to talk about it. But then when I asked the same thing to Schilt about Jordan Hicks, he said, well, you got to remember, he's here because he throws 103 miles an hour. And it's hard for me to go to any player and say, okay, stop doing what you did to get here. And I get that, because you want to have the player on your side. And it might be better for the player and the team if he does it. But until they buy in, and Ali talks all the time about buy-in with Jordan Walker, until you get the players to buy in, you aren't going to get the best out of them.
And again, this you have to also think about the genesis of this comment from Ali to AJ Przinsky. This is not players don't want to steal bases. It's players experienced organizations using their caught stealing stats as more of a deficit against their value than stolen bases were being added to their value in these arbitration discussions. This isn't 100%. This isn't players just being spoiled and saying, I don't feel like running. Mm-hmm. They're not the Buffalo over in Colorado who's decided I don't want to run anymore, so I'm retiring. I'm indifferent to moving. I'm indifferent to moving. That's not what's happening here. It's that players are getting screwed and they're adapting to getting screwed, because when somebody keeps screwing you over, you're a sap unless you adapt and stop letting them take advantage of you. And that's all players have done. And I can never blame an employee for not getting taken advantage of by their employer.
Anthony C. Albert got a pass from La Russa for not running out every ground ball. Would Albert do the same for the young players? If those young players are hitting 40 home runs a year and driving in 110.
It's like he didn't get special treatment from TLR because TLR and him had a great relationship. It was because he was an MVP caliber player as a rookie.
He was like the best or one of the two best right-handed hitters in his first 10 years, had the best first 10 years of anybody ever in the history of the game. Better than Manny Ramirez, better than Joe DiMaggio. It was unbelievable. So if the guy doesn't run out a ground ball, or if he runs through a stop sign at third base and he's coming back to the dugout, if you're LaRussa, you say, could you please hit a home run next time? And that way you don't have to run. And then that's what he did. He would hit a home run.
Ken Martin, when players no longer believe they no longer have to listen to the coaches or follow the coach's instructions, it's over. And then he says, taken advantage of. Yeah, you might think that's a little bit hyperbolic speak, but like that's what's happening. If an employer says, do this thing because it helps us make money, and then I do the thing, and then I come to you later and say, hey, I did the thing that helped us make money, helped us win games. Can I get more money because I did that thing? And you go, well, even though you did the good thing 75% of the time, 25% of the time when you were trying to do the good thing, you didn't do the good thing. So no, I can't give you more money.
And oh, by the way,
you're being taken advantage of. You're being screwed over by your employer. I'm sorry, it is.
And there are very few teams that don't have the issues that we're talking about. Milwaukee, Pat Murphy is a no-nonsense guy with a really young team. And a lot of guys like that. Isaac Collins is essentially a 28-year-old rookie. And they've got a lot of older players that don't have a lot of experience that are really happy to be at the major league level. And then they have a guy like Yelich buying in, which helps a lot. But I see a lot of games, and this is not a problem that is indigenous to the Cardinals in terms of not doing everything to win. And that's why I always mention that players generally, I'm talking about more than 50%, when they get into pro ball, way more than 50%, they don't know how to make winning plays. They don't know how to play winning baseball. And that's one of the things that Murphy has talked about recently, is that they make sure that guys know how to make winning baseball plays. That being said, the Cardinals, if you want to go new school stats, they have the highest outs above average. They have the best metric defense in baseball. And if you want to go old school, they've got the second most chances. That means they get to the second most balls with the most assists in Major League Baseball. So if you're like me and you want to go back to the Sunday paper in the 70s and look at chances and assists, 70s and 80s, the Sunday newspaper, remember all the stats? The Cardinals do that well too. And they generally, aside from stealing bases, they run the bases well. They're a pretty good fundamental team. I don't think that is an Oli Marmol issue. I think the biggest problem that Oli has as a manager right now is that he doesn't have players that are good enough.
Yeah. Although Thomas DeJacy getting caught yesterday was a bummer. Jens, I've lightened up on Oli. He's doing the best with what the DeWitts and Mo are giving him. It's not Oli's fault for taking the job. I miss and like Schilt more, though.
Oh, yeah.
I can't blame people for
Mike
that.
is one of those guys, and by the way, he's got a ton of talent now, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
But he's one of those guys that I believe kind of squeezes blood out of a turnip. I think he gets more out of players than most other guys would. Whitey Herzog had that attribute. For whatever reason, Whitey was able to get players that played their best under him. He getting people like Mike Ramsey to be an effective ball player. Pedro Guerrero was done when the Cardinals got him, and he turned him back into a good ball player. He got pretty good work out of a guy like Kurt Ford. Whitey did a really good job. So, hey, we want you to know about the golf next week. And I will be there on the first day of the Stiefel Charity Classic. It's a legendary weekend, and you want to show up because it's awesome, and it's a great way for St. Louis to show out. It's brought to you by Stiefel and Compliance Solutions. The Stiefel Charity Classic, September 4th through 7th at the historic Norwood Hills Country Club. What's your best round at Norwood?
Pretty good. Yeah, not good.
Y.E. Yang-esque?
Yeah, not anywhere near. I might have put together an 18, like he put together like a 9, the front 9. Okay. About that. Yeah.
Got it. Hey, watch PGA Tour champions tee it up and compete. Some of the names that were there last year and that'll be back this year include Darren Clark, Chris DeMarco, Justin Leonard, Stuart Sink, and then you had a great playoff last year between Bernhard Langer and Y.E. Yang. Plus, you can enjoy a live performance by the music sensation OAR at Friday's community concert presented by CarShield. Tickets start at just $20. Kids, military, veterans, and first responders get in free. Get your tickets now at StiefelCharityClassic.com. That's STIFEL, StiefelCharityClassic.com. And we will see you at Norwood Hills September 4th through 7th at the Stiefel Charity Classic.
Got a comment here from you, Mama. If a GM told me in arbitration, your steal percentage is only 88%, it was 92%, that equates to $124,000 over 160 games, I would punch them in the face.
I think that'd be more fun. I think we need to get cams, an arbitration cam in the room where the arbitration is taking place.
I think I'm worth $3 million. I think you're worth one half, and just the player just like rips off the sleeves of their shirt, just goes, "Oh yeah." Just bare knuckle box it out for the 1.5 million. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
a little American Gladiator style, maybe.
Yeah. Pete Rose.
He was saying, as a player as well known as Albert ever become a manager? I don't think Joe Torre was quite that famous, not counting as Ty Cobb as a player manager 100 years ago. And then he said Pete Rose. Yeah, I should have thought of that one immediately.
Yeah, he was pretty famous.
Pretty famous, I'd say.
Frank Robinson with the Cleveland Indians at the time was a player manager too, towards the end of his baseball career.
Yes, he was. Cody Isle. Yes, good fundamentals, but at some point you have to have more talented players.
Yep.
That would be like having an NBA team full of European players, good fundamentals, but not enough talent. You might want to check the last few years of MVPs in the NBA before you start talking about how you couldn't win with a team full of Euros. Just saying.
Huh. Good fundamentals. Yeah, well, European players have good fundamentals, don't they?
They do, but he's saying that they're the NBA
talent.
don't have enough. NBA Euros don't have enough talents.
Yeah,
I'm saying.
You're right. And like I said, you just need to get. Well, you need a lot, but the biggest thing with this team right now is, and the reason that teams win is because they have good starting pitching, and this team just doesn't have good starting pitching right now. I think that down the line, you can get through a season and into the playoffs with Matthew Liberatore. I like McGreevy, but what's to say McGreevy isn't going to run into the same things next year, although he did throw 173 innings last year. But what's to say that McGreevy isn't going to do the same thing that Palante is doing right now when we get to August next year? McGreevy very well could. Palante was a really good starter last year.
Oh, man, I really don't want to have to think about that. Holy crap, Randy. That was a completely unnecessary. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely 100% right.
Yep. And then Sonny Gray is what he is. Michaelis isn't going to be here. We don't know anything about Kyle Leahy. So who are you hanging your hat on in that starting rotation for 2026? I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the guys that I think, and even I'm talking about 2025, 2026. I'm talking about guys that can give you 5 1/3, 5 2/3, and give you a chance to win after that. I'm just not seeing many, if any, of those guys right now in the Cardinal rotation. When we get to next August, hopefully Matthew Liberatore will be different physically. Palante will be different physically. McGreevy will be able to do it, hopefully.
And there's 2 new names signed in the winter.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
And say big names.
Sonny Gray is going to be here.
Yeah.
But we know what Sonny is in September.
Yes.
So, and maybe Leahy is a starter. Maybe Matthews gets a chance. I don't know. But, and maybe at this time next year, maybe on August 28th of 2026, maybe Liam Doyle is in the major leagues. But right now, as we speak on August 28th, 2025, I'm just not seeing it.
I dare say that's a little bleak, Randy.
Yeah, but it's also realistic. And I know that I'm generally sunshine lollipop.
As our most bleak prognosis is.
Yeah. You do have to look logically at what's transpiring before you.
Pitching.
It's Mike Shannon.
The Cardinals might have pitching, but they certainly are missing pitching and pitching.
Yep. Yeah.
So
one of the years the Cardinals were bad, I think it was 86. No, it was 88. It was 88 because they were kind of in the hunt. 86, they were never in the hunt. And Mike Shannon used to record the start of the game, and we would go down to the clubhouse, and I'd go grab a player and bring him over. And Mike would say, "You know how to win in baseball?" I said, "Yeah, you just outscore the other team. Because you win in baseball with pitching. That was it, the 3 things. And if you pitch, and again, this is another part of back in my day. Back in my day, and I know there's a few of you on the chat, but back in my day, and we saw this firsthand with Whitey Ball, you could pitch really well. You could send out Tudor, Andujar, Cox, Kepshire, Forsch. They would give you 7 innings, and then the bullpen would come in, and you'd allow 2 runs, 3 runs, and you could have a guy hit a double, butt him over to third, get a sacrifice fly. You could manufacture a run on a regular basis.
But whoa. But if I just swing for the fences, I could have scored 3.
But there's the problem, is you strike out too. You strike out more than you hit home runs. So why not get your bat on the ball? Why not? And I know it's hard with 100-mile-an-hour pitches coming in, but for me, there's still something to be said for getting a runner on, over, and in. And I don't see enough of that in Major League Baseball. And I don't know if players are really capable of it. Players certainly don't want to bunt right now, but I don't think they even want to hit sacrifice flies, Matthew.
No, I can't. I can't. That's not going to help me in arbitration.
Right. There you go.
Kurt Martin, the MLB is lost. Take pitching. We teach max effort, velo, and spin rate. Nothing about the art of pitching. Nope. Guys are injury prone. Cannot pitch very many innings, and careers are shortening. So, what are we talking about when we say there's no art of pitching? Because, like, are we talking about pitch sequencing? Are we talking like what are we talking about with the art of pitching that is not there?
Go to any social media site and just type in Greg Maddux.
Yep.
That was the art of pitching. He thought about it. There's a great one how and you'll find it if you just go to Greg Maddux. But he threw a pitch, I think it was to Bagwell, and Bagwell hit it out of the ballpark, and Javi Lopez comes out to the mound. He says, "What are you doing there? You threw him a meatball." And he said, "Well, we're going to see him in the playoffs, and he's going to think he's going to get that pitch, but he's not." And they get to the playoffs. He faces Bagwell, and he strikes him out in the exact same situation.
Jesus. And yeah, you're right. MLB is broken in that way because no player can think like that because they're going to be judged for that home run so starkly that they're not going to be able. They can't think long term enough to think, well, I'm going to get him in the playoffs though. Don't worry about this.
Yeah.
And so to Kurt Martin, I guess your point is right. MLB is kind of lost because we teach max effort. I mean, what is a kid supposed to do if no scouting service is going to look at him at 13 years old if he's not overthrowing his fastball?
Right.
What is a kid supposed to do?
And it would seem if you're a parent and you spend $5,000 to send your kid to one of these individualized coaches who is going to teach him how to throw with max effort and how to throw 100 miles an hour when he's 16 years old. But what happens? The arm gets hurt and the kid undergoes Tommy John. Now he might come back, he might not, but to me, there's no question that if you're throwing max effort, there's a greater chance that you're going to get hurt. So why not have coaching where maybe you don't go max effort, but you have more command and you put the ball where you want to put it. There were some pitches that Bubba Chandler threw last night that you didn't even have a chance to hit. There were 2 outs in, I think, the 7th inning, and I think it might have been Wynn at the plate. And Chandler throws one outside him, and BT says, if he swings at that pitch, the inning is over. And he's exactly right. Throw pitches where guys are going to get themselves out.
Rich Cam 427 cutting Cole Bassett's left foot's grass. Cole Bassett's usually the one in the chat putting out these kind of lines, but Rich Cam 427 was maybe the best one I've ever seen. Maddux was more of a realtor than a pitcher. Location.
Yeah,
I love that. That's a fantastic comment.
Here's another thing that Maddux had that you probably couldn't do now. Maddux was so good and had such great pinpoint control that he could throw a pitch an inch off the plate and the umpire would be back there and he'd call it a strike because he knew that's exactly where Maddux wanted to throw it. He could throw it 2 inches off the plate. He'd get the strike because the umpire knew that that's exactly where he wanted to put it. He had such exquisite control that he got so many strikes called that were balls because the umpires were under the impression, oh, well, he's just doing what he wants to do. They gave him so much respect, and he earned it, that he had that advantage too of getting a lot of outs with balls that were called strikes.
I don't watch a ton of baseball nightly outside of the St. Louis Cardinals, but Russell Eisenhart comes in. No, the art of pitching, no one wants to change speeds and location. No one can paint the corners or go up and down. It's all about spin rate and speed. Listen, I'm not saying this is prevalent across baseball, but I watched Michael McGreevy do all 3 or 4 of those things in his last start. I saw Matthew Liberatore doing those things across the month of June. Like those things are still something like that's why I asked about the art of pitching, because I do think those things, well, there's still a lot of power pitchers and things like that. We see plenty of guys who mix and match speeds and things like that. We were talking about how Palante and a lot of guys in Major League Baseball now have this rising sinker. That Modlowski guy last night, one of the best parts about sitting where I was sitting last night was getting to see his sinker is a backside sinker. It works its way back to his strong hand. That is a fascinatingly fun pitch to watch. I mean, Matt Svenson's throwing his sinkers and stuff, his breaking pitches at like 97 miles per hour. Kevin Segrist had a lot of spin rate and speed, but he would move that thing around in different spots, and it was fun to watch him pitch. I understand that there are parts dying out. I just think there are certainly super stark parts to everything you pointed out, but I still think we do see a lot of guys who can mix and match and go at the corners.
And we just need more because there's such an overemphasis on. And a great text from Mason Windu. Bottom line, MLB is a power game, power pitching and power hitting. Cardinals are poor in both and need a lot of work to fix it. John Tudor topped out at about 91, and he just put the ball where he wanted, and he was able to get everybody out. I'm still convinced that if you can spot the ball, if you have great command, you can still win with lesser velocity. But the thing is, nobody's being coached to pitch with command. They're being coached to throw hard at the ages of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's never, I don't think, a point where maybe there is, where before kids are 16 years old, where command takes precedence over velocity. I don't think it happens.
We're getting the comment here from Rich Camp 427. Maddox would be rated C at best by modern scouts because his fastball topped out at like 92.
So one time I asked Mike Maddox, then the Cardinal pitching coach, and Andy Van Slyke. I was at an event that both of them were at. They said, if Greg were in the draft today, would he get drafted? Nope. Everybody that I ask says that if Greg Maddox were to be drafted in draft eligible today,
that's
with his stuff, that he wouldn't get drafted.
He was a second rounder, by the way. Just throwing it out there
for the Cubs.
Yes.
Yeah, but he wouldn't even be drafted today.
In fact, was that entire? I'm just going through that Braves lineup right now. That Braves pitching staff right now. Smoltz was a 22nd rounder. There's somebody who really didn't get a look.
Traded for Doyle Alexander.
Yes, but I was just looking at that 95 Braves. Glavine was also a second round pick, by the way.
Should have been a blue.
Yes, he should.
But the Kings took him. So when I think the story goes, Claves knows this story better than I do. But I think when the Braves when the Kings took Tom Glavine, he also went in the second round in the NHL draft, I believe. Maybe it was the fourth round in the NHL draft. But Ron Caron called Dal Maxville because he didn't want Glavine to play against the Blues. He said, you should take this Glavine from Boston. He's good.
Fourth round in NHL to the Kings.
Yeah. And so Caron didn't want to go against him. He wanted the kid to be in baseball. And Caron was also a Cardinal fan. So he called Maxie and said, you should take this Glavine. But I think the Braves wound up taking him before the Cardinals could.
Blues Hall of Famer drafted in the 6th round of that draft.
Of that NHL draft? The Blues Hall of Famer drafted in, was this 1984? 84. That wasn't Gilmore, was it?
Brett Hull was drafted 2 rounds ahead. It was drafted 2 rounds behind Tom Glavine. 5 rounds behind Tom Glavine was Rook Robitaille, also a Hockey Hall of Famer. Yeah. Just some fun Hockey Hall of Famers being thrown out there. I love this perspective from Aaron G. Everyone points to Maddox, but there are more Hall of Famers pitchers from the past with power.
Yeah, there are, but I'm talking about what that whole staff. Smoltz was a hard thrower, but Glavine was a soft tosser. I'm just saying that back in the day, not everybody was a hard thrower. Now everybody is a hard thrower. Everybody's coming out of the bullpen with 98, 99, 100 miles an hour. And there isn't an emphasis placed on guys like Maddox or Bob Tewksbury, who was second in the Cy Young voting, or Trevor Hoffman, who was famous for his changeup. And his changeup was Hoffman was 94 and 74. He wasn't the guy that was throwing 98, 99 out of 100 out of the bullpen. A guy like Mariano Rivera had one pitch. He only threw a cutter. And it was a devastating cutter, but he only threw one pitch. That doesn't seem to exist right now.
That's fair. Kurt Martin says, to save itself, the game must change or go back to its roots.
And it will. This is all ultimately going to be cyclical. I think the issue now is that so many people are making so much money at the youth levels because of their coaching, and then you've got the drive lines and stuff like that. I think people are trying to max out their bodies as much as they possibly can. And until we get to a point where, it's not about maxing out your body. It's about getting people out and preserving your body, being more durable. I think until we get to that point, it's going to be hard. But right now, here's the way baseball works: is you get a 100-mile-an-hour thrower. Let's use the Cardinals as an example over the last 10 years. They get Jordan Hicks. I think he came up in 18, right? And with the day Jordan Hicks arrived on the scene with the Cardinals as a draftee, he was going to be a disposable commodity. And so they bring him up. He's throwing 100 miles an hour. They let him throw 100 miles an hour. They have him have his Tommy John. And then in his 6th year, they get rid of him. He's a disposable piece of property. They've got another 100-mile-an-hour arm behind him. So they turn the closing job over to Ryan Helsley, who throws 100 miles an hour. And in his 5th year, they move on from him. And the next guy that throws 100 miles an hour, and my guess would be that it was probably the plan was for Tink Hence to be that guy, but they'll get another 100-mile-an-hour guy, and they'll trade him in his 5th year. All of these pitchers, and this isn't just a Cardinal thing, it's a baseball thing, are, for the most part, 90%, they're disposable commodities as far as the teams are concerned. And they know that the guy's going to wear out, and they just go get another one to replace him. And that way you never have to pay the guy the outrageous money. Once he gets to his 6th year, that free agent year, you never have to pay him that. And you know that, right? Probably the day you draft him.
Yeah, no doubt. Your mama, it's definitely travel ball. They're cutting kids pre-puberty for velocity and bat speed. It's wild. But I do want to go back to Kurt Martin, because here's the thing. I think the idea that baseball needs to go back to its roots is a little bit tricky, because I don't think any sport would be successful by devolving. But I do think you have to realize that in almost in all 4 major sports, it's pretty much been proven over the last 50-year arc that style is in some ways cyclical. Now, things happen that change how that style cycles, as in the NBA started in the 50s with Mike and the Lakers as a post league, as a slow post up league. They expand the lane. The Celtics take over in the 60s, and now everyone's running and gunning. No one's running half court offense. It's entirely transition basketball. Then 20 years later, you had the 3-point shot, and people playing a lot of transition but don't shoot a lot. And now 30 years after that, you now have what we have in basketball now, which is essentially the ultimate combination of the ABA 3-point line with the 60s Celtics, everyone run at all times kind of way of playing the game. And so basketball is cyclical, in that the transition style of basketball has come back around 60 years later, but it added a new wrinkle in the 3-point shot. Baseball will cyclically come back to small ball and running being a thing. It will come back and happen, but baseball has to adapt and evolve within that cycle.
Well,
and so just going back to the roots to a point makes sense, but you still have to adapt, evolve, and change as you let things cycle back.
And that's one of the reasons that we have the rule changes. One of the reasons that they wanted to have the pitch clock was they thought, okay, pitchers are taking 40 seconds to recharge their arm, and that's why they're able to consistently throw 101, 102 miles an hour. Obviously, these guys are in exceptional condition, and that hasn't been a big issue. But other rules changes, like having the ability to steal bases again, because of only 2 throws over to first and because of the bigger bases, that's coming back into the game. There are things, having no shift causes people to be more athletic.
An over-reliance on hitting means that there's less defensively good catchers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Which then should affect the base stealing aspect as well.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell was Mike Moustakas doing playing second base in the major leagues? It should not have happened.
That was funny. It was pretty good.
But it just should not have happened. But it did, because you could have just a guy at second base, and if you ran the shift, you didn't need to be able to play. You could just put a DH at second base, and it would work out. So there are a lot of things that have happened, and the veteran baseball people say on a pretty consistent basis that it'll cycle back. Torrey, La Russa, guys like that say it'll come back, and what we saw previously will happen again. Let's see. This is Rich Cam 427. Oh, I'm sure a 1970s, 80s turf team is like 30 to 50 pounds lighter overall than an early 2000s juice team. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And that's another part of the evolution, or maybe devolution?
De-evolution.
De-evolution of the sport. Yeah.
Aaron G talking about evolution of sports. How many NFL players were running 4.4 in the 70s and 80s? Advances in training and technology have enhanced human performance.
Mel Gray, Roy Green.
Do you think, because here's the thing, I firmly believe that a lot of skills in sports have gotten better, not because the athletes like are more talented, but because they have more time and the training's more specified and all those kind of things. I don't know if hand-eye coordination is something that has improved the same way, because you're seeing now, you probably as a batter, you're seeing a lot more pitches than you did probably in the 80s as a kid, because you weren't playing as much baseball.
But I wonder if
so maybe dialing that in does mean some of the kids nowadays are growing up with a little bit of better hand-eye coordination, and maybe that is something that's also improved. But I think there's a lot. I think you'd have a hard time looking at strikeout numbers convincing anybody from the 80s that players now see the ball better than they did.
Yeah, hitting 100 miles an hour is hard, but there are things that hitters are doing that they didn't do 30, 40, 50 years ago to be able to react to the velocity that they're dealing with too. Mason Windu, has the average height and weight of MLB players changed any over the last 20? Yeah, it has, absolutely. Ozzie Smith was 150 pounds when he came to the Cardinals. I'll bet you there's not a 150-pound player in baseball right now.
No. What was D Gordon listed at? He was a drop. I mean, he was a water drop.
Yeah.
He was listed at 166. There ain't nobody smaller. I mean, what is Altuve listed at?
Yeah.
He's a thickum for how small he is. Altuve's listed at 167, and D was at 166.
Yeah,
I don't think we're getting any 155s.
167 pounds.
No, Wilson, come on, he's a little bit thicker than that, ain't he? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
His wife might not like us talking about him like that, but still.
But you didn't have 6'7", 280 playing the field at that point, like an Aaron Judge.
O'Neal Cruz is 6'7" at shortstop.
Yep. Look at a guy, Ellie De La Cruz,
6'5", 200.
Yep, is a big fella. There weren't guys as big as Goldie. Pedro Guerrero was not a big guy. Jack Clark was he was skinny. He was like 6'4", 200, but he was not broad. I mean, Goldie weighs 240. So you just don't have guys that big. Scott Rowland was like an NFL linebacker or a tight end. He was huge. So yeah, people are definitely bigger today than they were. Hey, speaking of a lot bigger, how about college football players now? I was looking at the Mizzou offensive line. They've only got one offensive lineman that's under 300 pounds. They should be able to absolutely physically dominate Central Arkansas tonight, I would think.
I would hope so. The question is, can they physically dominate Alabama? Because I'll never forget, Randy, that very first year in the SEC, I was down at Mizzou. I was lucky to be a student that very first year. And I walked down to the field for the last 2 minutes of the Alabama-Missouri game. Mm-hmm. And I stood at the 9-yard line as Alabama was driving through the red zone. And I kid you not, looked straight down the line of scrimmage. And this is what Alabama, this was like the size of Alabama's offensive line. Mm-hmm. And then this is where like Mizzou's defensive line was. It was at that moment I was like, oh, this is going to be a rough transition for this first decade. I mean, they went to the SEC championship a year later, but for me, for a moment, I was like, this is going to be really rough because the size difference was insane. They have closed that gap.
So you want to go to DraftKings Pick 6 and to check out the college football tonight. How about Dylan Raiola for Nebraska taking on Cincinnati at Arrowhead? And that game is going to be, I would think, a shootout. And Raiola is at 1.5 for passing touchdowns. I've got Dylan Raiola to pass for more than 1.5. So 2 touchdowns for Nebraska tonight against the Bearcats of Cincinnati. So that's one thing I'm looking at. And then I think you got to look at some MLB because Cardinals starting at 1:15. Are you intrigued by anything with the Cardinal game today? Miles Michaelis is pitching for the Cardinals. So maybe somebody's going to get a couple of hits. I don't know. What are you thinking? I'll give you my guess.
Can I lean against? Is there an ounce prop that I can lean against Miles Michaelis for? Like,
yes, you can.
I think I'm gonna go less with Miles Michaelis getting outs this game because at this point, if it's anything below 13.5, I'm taking that on Miles Michaelis. That might seem a little punitive, but I'm not feeling but I'm not feeling really good about a Miles Michaelis. Innings pitch.
Okay, so and I am going to go with the aforementioned O'Neal Cruz of the Buccos against Michaelis today. I'm going to go with him to get plus 1.5 hits, plus runs, plus RBI. So I'm going Raiola, 2 touchdown passes, and Cruz, 2 hits, plus runs, plus RBIs. And that's what I got at DraftKings Pick 6, where the crown is indeed yours. And there's really, at this time of year, there's so much going on, but there's nothing like having your phone in your hand on a TV day and watching a game. And the simplest way to get in on the action is to download that app right there, the DraftKings Pick 6 app. It's simple. Just choose more or less like I just did, and you're in the mix for big cash prizes. Pick 6 available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun, and don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, get $25 in bonus picks with your first deposit of $5. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use that code you see on your screen there, STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, so it is Mizzou on SEC Network tonight against Central Arkansas, 6:30 start. And I think Mizzou, as we mentioned earlier, they should physically dominate Central Arkansas. So here is what I want to see. I'm actually going to use the eye test here for Pujols and Horn. And I would think that if Pujols is the quarterback, and I think he's going to be the starter, there'll be more of a running team. If Horn is the quarterback, I think there'll be more of a passing team. My guess would be that the Tigers will be able to physically dominate Central Arkansas on both sides of the line of scrimmage. So I want to see them avoid pre-snap penalties. I want to see them avoid turnovers and just play a good, clean, workmanlike game. I think the line is 33.5, and I don't care about that. I just want to see Mizzou play mistake-free in what is essentially their preseason game.
I still just can't get over the decision from Drinkwitz to go first half, second half. It's absolutely baffled me because
you better not take your foot off the gas.
But you have to, because
right.
if you're up 44-7, are you going to risk running a play where a guy gets rolled up into Caden Green?
Yeah.
Are you going to risk running a play where Kevin Coleman's going over the middle and some Central Arkansas guy is like, this is my chance. I'm going to make my name for myself when I decleat this SEC wide receiver in this game.
Well, then just get him in the transfer portal next year, because that guy was better than the worst starter on Mizzou.
I know
of the 22 should be better, bigger, stronger, faster than the very best player that Central Arkansas has.
You're not wrong. My point is though, is it fair? Is it actually a quarterback competition? If Bo Pujols gets Caden Green as his left tackle and Kevin Coleman is his number one receiver and Sam Horn doesn't, is that a real quarterback competition?
No, it's not, but it's apples to apples.
This
is why you have to use the eye test. This is why you have to say, okay, is Horn getting the ball where it needs to go? Is he keeping us out of danger? Is he hanging on to the football? Is Bo Pujols getting the ball making the right decisions, getting the ball where it needs to go, keeping it out of the hands of the opposition? This is why I say it's the eye test, because I don't think you can measure yourself at all against Central Arkansas.
That's true. It's got to be 100% the eye test, because if they do start bringing in backups, and they should if they're up by 30 points at that point.
And by the way, they're favored by 40.5, not 32.
You have to couch things where it's like if Sam Horn has to roll out and bug out of the pocket and has to roll out and hit a guy on the move, you have to handicap that. It was because, the third string left tackles and he blows the block. Like, to your point, that shouldn't even happen against Central Arkansas. But still, by the way, are you excited for the Tigers to get some revenge for your boys on the Bearcats this season? Central Arkansas was the second game in last year's Lindenwood schedule.
I know.
Beat them up a little bit, but I think the Tigers can get some revenge for you this year.
I think so. Yeah. And they deserve it. Central Arkansas, what have they ever done? They gave us Scottie Pippen. Great. I wonder if Larsa went to Central Arkansas.
I don't think she did. I think she went to, Scottie Pippen Jr. went to Vanderbilt.
Okay. So
Where did Larsa
I
go?
wonder if she's dating a young man now.
Oh, Randy.
She's dated a few.
You know what? You said Larsa, and my mind went to like the positive side, which is like Scottie Pippen has a daughter who's doing really well in basketball. And I went to that, and then I remembered that Larsa's not his daughter.
No.
Never mind. I don't want to talk about that story. That story makes me sad.
Which the
her hanging out with Marcus Jordan or
Malik Beasley or
Marcus Jordan? That one now. God. Well, hey, Malik Beasley's cleared. He apparently wasn't involved in a gambling situation. But I'm just the Tiger game is going to be
from the University of Illinois.
Okay, then
from Chicago.
Yeah, it's just tonight's going to be interesting. To your point, you can't look at the box score. The one thing to Anthony C's point, Drink did that with Cook and Horn 2 years ago. Sam Horn didn't even get a chance to throw much. He had 5 attempts in the second half. Drinkwitz made a comment when he broke down the first half, second half, saying the quarterbacks will kind of be able to dictate the offense. They'll have they'll get the chance. So that quote's a little odd to me, but I guess he's willing to kind of say this is the small part of the playbook we're using tonight. If you guys see something, you can audible or you can come over to the sideline and ask for a play because the playbook's going to be so damn small anyhow.
Right. I wonder if there is any evaluation left of Sam Horn, and I wonder if they're worried about if Sam Horn is determined to be the number 2 guy, and Prebula is going to be the starter all year long, and Sam Horn knows that, and he's in his 3rd year now. If I'm in Horn's shoes and I'm not going to play, which means I'm probably not going to be drafted to an NFL team, I'll say, you know what? I'll just go down to Arizona and I'll join the Doyers. I'll go to.
I wondered when this was going to come up.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're Sam Horn, why would you not? If you see no future in football, why would you not?
Because you are getting paid a little money to play football.
Yeah, but that's not your future, though.
It's not, but I mean, if I'm getting paid 5 figures to be the backup quarterback to an SEC football team,
you already got a baseball bonus, so
it's a pretty nice life, though.
Yeah,
it's a pretty nice life for the next 6 months.
Being the backup quarterback.
Being the backup quarterback, I mean,
not bad.
Hold the clipboard, stay out at the bars an extra hour or 2 because you don't got to be up the next morning.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with being the backup quarterback.
Yeah. Lex Luthor, Malik Beasley got to sue someone. The false allegations cost him tens of millions of dollars. He was being investigated. I don't know who you sue because you were under investigation.
Yeah, and let's. I think we can. Can we all put 2 and 2 together on this one, please? I think do we need to be blatant with what happened here? He was under investigation. He's not under investigation anymore. Other people involved with him are still under investigation.
Oh.
Can we put some things together here and maybe figure out why he was under investigation, why he has no one to sue for that fact, but why he's no longer under investigation? That's all I'm saying. That's all. So I'm
you
saying.
Think there's something there?
Yeah, I think there's a reason that the courts were going after him. Yes.
Okay.
And then I think there's probably now a couple extra reasons why the courts are going after people he was involved with.
I think that makes sense. And we do have Blues news for you today. We told you earlier about the big Blues news that they have their jersey calendar out. It's stlblues.com/jersey. But here are the Blues Hall of Fame finalists for the 2025 or 2026 induction.
Here we go. It's a lot of names.
Mm-hmm.
Al Arbor, David Backus, Ron Caron, Emil Francis, Grant Fuhr, Ken Hitchcock, Barrett Jackman, Joey Mullen, Adam Oates, TJ Oshie, Jurgen Pedersen, Joel Quinville, Rob Ramage, Brendan Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, Alexander Steen, and Pierre Turgeon. I was talking about this with Cam earlier from Jansen. I came up with my 3.
Cam's not on there.
I came up with, Randy, stop it.
Okay.
Maybe one day after he's a broadcaster for 30 years. I came up with my 3-man group, and I phrased it as I'm going to pick 3 guys who, at different points in the Blues history, helped boost or arguably save the club.
Got it. Good.
Mike Shanahan saved the club from going to Saskatoon.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Oates was part of the pairing that really helped St. Louis hockey take off with Hull and Oates. Hull's obviously already in there. I know he's here for a short time. That's the arguable one. And the third one I'm going with, the man who helped rebuild the Blues after the post-lockout problems, Ken Hitchcock.
Oh, I like it.
That's my three-man. That's my three-man group. I'm going with Mike Shanahan, Adam Oates, and Ken Hitchcock.
Okay, the guy that actually the franchise was dead, and Emil Francis was one of two front office employees that stuck with it in 1983.
That's a great one too.
Yeah. So I think I would go with Emil. He's fantastic. I'm going to go with Brendan Shanahan.
Okay.
The body of work. I mean, 250-goal seasons. He's one of only two guys in Blues history, along with Hully, to have multiple 50-goal seasons. He was sensational. And that third one is tough for me. But I think I'm going to go. So I've got Emil. I'm going to go with. I want to do eras. So, okay, I will go with
something more
David
recent.
Backes.
Oh, going with the captain. Okay.
Yep. I was, because I have Shanahan, Adam Oates has to get in sometime. The way that everything is set up is basically so that Adam Oates can get into the Blues Hall of Fame. Had 90 assists in 90-91. He was fabulous. But I can get him in later.
258. I think it's 258 points in 199 games.
Yeah, it was outrageous how good he was and how well he meshed with Hully. So I'm going to go with the Cat, not Jimmy the Cat Hayes, but Emil the Cat Francis. I'm going to go with Brendan Shanahan, and I'm going to go with David Backes.
I can't argue with that one. That's pretty definitive. Brendan Shanahan, just a player that if you didn't get to watch him, kind of has this like weird lore around him because of all the stories and just how great he was on the ice. And it's kind of weird because you hear all the stories, and then after people tell you stories, they remind you, oh yeah, by the way, the reason why all these stories happened and he was still playing and everything is because he was an absolute gamer. Mm-hmm. He was an absolute monster. I know all anyone ever wants to talk about when it comes to wingers for the early 90s Blues is Brett Hall, but not nearly do people talk about Brendan Shanahan enough. You talk about Emil Francis in that light of the only guy left in the room essentially before the lights essentially got turned out.
What happened was Ralston Purina owned the team and decided they didn't want to own the team anymore, but nobody wanted to buy it. So essentially they put it in a bassinet and left it on the porch of the National Hockey League. So we're out. We don't want anything to do with it anymore. So the league took over. And fortunately for St. Louis, is kind of weird, but Harold Ballard, the crusty old owner of the Maple Leafs, and Bill Wirtz, the owner of the Blackhawks, they were the ones that were staunchly against the Blues moving to Canada. A guy named Bill Hunter wanted to move the Blues to Saskatoon, and the owners of the Maple Leafs and the Blackhawks said, nope, don't do it. Well, so there's no ownership, there's no employees, literally no employees. There were two people, Emil Francis, and neither of them were being paid, and Dennis Ball, who went to the draft in 1983. The Blues weren't allowed to draft because they didn't have an ownership group, but they at least went there. And then Harry Ornest came in and saved the day and was able to buy the franchise and maintain it for St. Louis until he sold, and he soaked every dollar out of it that he could. But he also kept it here, and it's probably not very popular in the Blues building. But the Blues would not be here if it wasn't for Harry Ornest, who never gets talked about for the Hall of Fame. But I'm of the firm belief that if Emil Francis would not have stuck around to keep things together, that the Blues would not be here.
Okay, so the other one, you were looking for a more recent era. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of players that kind of overlap in that era that are on this list, but I'm going to isolate three and ask you why you went with the captain.
Okay, good.
In those three.
Like it.
David Backes, TJ Oshie,
got it.
Ken Hitchcock.
Okay.
Why is Backes the first of those three that you put in?
And let's throw Alexander Steen in there too.
And see, for me, there's so much extra with Steen, and it's like you now have like he's with the organization, so it's like, you're not in a rush to put him in because it's like he's gonna have a GM run. You can put him in as part of that. So I'm separating him only for that reason, and I'm separating Backes as well because his career as a grinder and a guy who now works for the organization is a little bit different than Backes, Oshie, and Hitchcock, all guys who had other parts of their career outside of St. Louis and are not back in town.
And the reason that that I thought about Steener, and you're right, we have time to get him in, hopefully. But he was the Blues' best player, a two-way player for 2 or 3 years. And Hitch would talk about he's the conscience of the team because he was a terrific 200-foot player. But Backes was the heart and soul of the team. Hitch, you're right. When they fired Davis Payne and plugged in Hitch, all of a sudden they became great. And Hitch taught so many people about winning hockey, not only in that organization, but in this town. He's in the Hockey Hall of Fame already, deserves to be a Blues Hall of Famer. The other guy was Oshie, and I always thought, and I might not be accurate here, I always thought when Backus and Oshie, and it was Backus, Oshie, Perron, right, that were all drafted right around the same time, came up at the same time. I always thought that Oshie was more of a Robin to Backus's Batman.
Okay, yeah.
And, Backus was, he wasn't a number one center, but he was our number one center, and played really well. He was a big-time clutch player, and he just kind of epitomized Blues hockey: tough, gritty, rugged, and did a lot of really good things. You know what? As much as I love TJ Oshie, great player, there's two things about him. Number one, he was way better once he was placed with a playmaking center like Backstrom in Washington. The other thing is, what do you think the best thing that TJ Oshie did when he was in the Blues employ?
I mean, I think he gave people he gave young people a face to kind of fan out for again.
Okay. I think the best thing that he did when he was a member of the Blues was scored all the overtime goals in Russia.
That was, I had a feeling that's what you were hinting at. That's fair.
And that's not, he was a really good player for
the
Blues,
was, but those Olympic
was the most
shootouts,
notable thing that he did.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, and he deserves at some point to get into the Blues Hall of Fame. By the way, classy, great ambassador for the franchise. A lot of really good things that TJ Oshie brought to the table. And it's a bummer that they weren't able to keep him here for the duration of his career. He gets traded before the 2015-16 season. And then 2 days later, salary cap move. 2 days later, the Blues signed Tarasenko to the extension. And obviously Tarasenko was a big part of the 2019 Stanley Cup championship.
Also, what's incredible about the Blues organization is that essentially they can put this list in right now over the next 6 years, and I wouldn't have an argument with any single name.
I wouldn't either.
Like if you look at the numbers, if they would have to add one more to get to the 18, you'd need to fill out all the next 6 years going 3 apiece. But I mean, this is 17 names. Every single one of them is due. Every single one of them will eventually get in. And that's what's really fun is that and obviously names will be added over time. Obviously, if you just had to think of guys who are on the team right now, you could probably add 2 or 3 names.
Chief is going to be in there, right?
Yeah, Chief will be in there. Binner will be in there.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue that guys like Colton Karraker will be in there.
Alex
Pietrangelo, Ryan O'Reilly. So, I mean, we're going to keep adding lists. This is going to be a lot of fun over the next decades to go through this list because there's just so many great players, so many great stories. I mean, inside of this list, the stories that we're going to hear eventually over the years. Ron Caron, Grant Fuhrer, people in St. Louis are going to rediscover why Jolie Mullen is on this list and things like that. Jurgen Pedersen, Rod Ramage. These are names that you hear a lot, but they're not the biggest names, so you don't always hear the stories, but they will eventually be Blues Hall of Famers, and it'll be fascinating to watch that happen.
Yeah, and Shanny was he was the quintessential power forward. He was big. He could skate a little bit, had a great shot. But in addition to that, he has a Kelly Chase type personality. He was a fan favorite. Everybody loved Shanny. And it was a devastating blow to the whole town when Judge Edward Houston awarded him awarded Stevens to New Jersey so that we could have Shanahan. And then people still mad about Shanahan being traded for Chris Pronger. Even though Pronger's a Hall of Famer and Shanny's a Hall of Famer.
People who know judges' names off the top of their heads. Criminals, divorcees, anyone who watched the OJ trial, and Blues fans.
Yeah,
those are the 4 groups of peoples in this country that know judges' names 30 years after the fact. It's that SOB who gave all my money to my ex-wife, Judge Ito, the guy who screwed the Blues over,
Judge Edward
Houston. And if I'm a criminal, I know the judge that put me behind bars.
Okay.
Those are the 4 groups of people that memorize judges' names. Congratulations, Blues. You're a sick group of people in a very small group, but no one would blame you for being in that group.
So the Blues offered Rod Brindamore and Curtis Joseph.
Pretty good.
To New Jersey. Legend has it that in a legal arbitration setting, they did not take an attorney with them to be involved in the arbitration. And so the Blues offer Brindamore and Joseph, and Lou Lamoriello well, what do I need Curtis Joseph for? And the Blues say, well, he's good. And he says to the judge, Edward Houston, he said, I just drafted this goalie named Martin Brodeur that is going to be really good. I don't need Curtis Joseph. And he didn't. And so Lamoriello said, what I need is a left-handed shooting defenseman. And so he asked for Stevens. He got Scott Stevens. And the Blues, obviously, for a time at least, kept Brind'Amour and Cujo. That happened in like August, right before the season, right before training camp started. In November, I'm working at the Mighty Mocs at the time, and I called Judge Edward Houston just on a whim, and he got a hold of him. And I said, as the story came out, Lamoriello said that he wanted a left-handed shooting defenseman, and he had lost a left winger in Brendan Shanahan. So if the Blues would have offered Brind'Amour and Paul Cavallini, a left-handed shooting defenseman, would that have changed things? And Judge Houston said, that's what I thought they were going to offer. That was the logical expense for Brendan Shanahan. I would have absolutely sided with the Blues. He might not have said it that way, but he did say, yeah, I would have taken the Blues offer if it would have been Cavallini and Rod Brind'Amour rather than Joseph and Rod Brind'Amour. Because he wanted to replace Shanny, right? He thought that was fair, and he wanted to get that left-handed defenseman that Lamoriello wanted, and the Blues would have still had Shanahan and Scott Stevens for those years.
And that's another one. Just, I mean, in the moment, I guess try to like place where Scott Stevens was as a defenseman in the NHL at the time.
So he came to the Blues and was named their captain right away. I don't in his very first year. I don't know if there is a comp because he was tough. I mean, he was a great fighter. He was very good offensively. He was a rock. He played 30 minutes a game.
He finished top 5 in the Norris 4 times in his first 7 years with the Capitals.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. And if you have a comp for us on the chat line, I'm trying to think of a comparable player now in the NHL. And I don't think, because the league is different now, I don't think that player exists.
He never won a Norris, but he finished top 5 in the Norris like 10 times in his career.
Yeah, he was
insane.
And won 3 Stanley Cups. And he was a guy where you didn't want to go near him. He basically ended Eric Lindros's career. Just you're on YouTube right now. Check out, just type in Scott Stevens, Eric Lindros.
Yup.
That's the sort of player he was. And
keep your head on a swivel.
And if up. You have Scott Stevens, Brendan Shanahan, and Brett Hull on the same team with Curtis Joseph between the pipes, whew, nobody would have messed around with you. Yeah, they would have won a couple of cups with that group together.
Lateralist giving us a great PSA to anybody out there. If you're going to the Mizzou game, avoid Highway 63 because there's construction. Shocking. That's because it's a day that ends in Y in the last 30 years, apparently. And I-70 is a mess for 20 miles east of Columbia. Also not surprising when you're going to Mizzou football games, but thank you for good looking out. It's the first game of the season. People are probably forgetting that. They're too used to getting there at Saturday morning traffic. No. This is Thursday afternoon traffic. Well, because if you there's like an hour window where if you get out of St. Louis in that hour window, you'll get into Columbia before everything happens.
Okay.
But if you leave like an hour later, you are going to get to Columbia 2 hours later because the final 2 exits before into Columbia are hell.
So there was on my way here this morning, there was a big accident on 270.
Yeah.
It was a motorcycle accident.
Oh no.
Yeah. And the person was injured, and I'm seeing, because 270 was closed for a while. I'm looking at MoDOT. If you don't follow MoDOT traffic on the tweeter machine, give it a shot because they'll tell you if there is an accident and if it's closed down. Let's see.
I really resonate with this comment from Samuel Howe. Just take the train to Columbia. It's so stupid. You can't do that.
It is.
It's the dumbest thing in the world. It goes to Jeff City, and then you have to shuttle from Jeff City to Columbia. It's the stupidest thing in the world. God, I hate that so much. Yeah. It was such a problem for me when I was in school there.
By the way, the crash on 270 is cleared, and all lanes are open, so you're all good. It was closed down at 7:20, reopened at 10:05.
Oh man,
so not great.
Keep your eye out for those motorcyclists.
Cardinals 1:15 today. Mizzou tonight 6:30 on SEC Network. All kinds of great sports that we'll be talking about tomorrow. Bernie Miklas will join us tomorrow.
Yes, sir. We potentially will be talking with Hannah Barton as well from Southeast Sports Fans. One last thing for you, Randy. Are you still surprised that Wilson Contreras is playing? He's just not eating the suspension at this point.
No, because I think he's going to probably get the suspension cut down.
Okay.
And so he might think that he can get it cut down to 3 or 4. And because the suspensions are without pay, that's a lot of money. So
yes, Wilson, by the way, is starting at first base, batting and cleanup. Also, I brought this up with Joe Roderick today. Braxton Ashcraft is the starting pitcher for the Pirates. Chris Gardner's Ascot All-Stars.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
100% rookie starter for the Chris Gardner Ascot All-Stars. If you don't know that, there's a producer that used to work at 590, 101, all over St. Louis. Chris Gardner is one of the most talented producers we've ever had in radio. He doesn't do radio anymore.
He's a doorman.
But he does, and an aspiring Armani model. Let's give him some credit.
And almost became a senator.
Yes, almost became a senator. I voted for him. I'm very proud of that fact. But he created something years ago called the Ascot All-Stars, which is every year in baseball, he goes through and puts together an all-star roster of all the names that sound the most waspy-ish. So Braxton Ashcraft is 100% a starting pitcher in the 2025 Ascot All-Stars. I can't wait till he releases the full team.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Great job, sir. As always, Wilson got us on the air. We thank you for joining us. And don't forget, we got a lot of cool things here at STL Sports Central. You can subscribe to the newsletter and to the YouTube channel, and you can like this video on YouTube, and then follow us on all the socials too.
And again, Cardinals postgame earlier today because it's a 1 o'clock game. So around like 4:30, 5 o'clock, maybe a little bit later, Cardinals postgame. And then late tonight, after the Mizzou football game, we are back with Mizzou coverage, of course, here on STL Sports Central, which means we are doing a post game tonight after the Mizzou game. So after they win that game by 45, we'll be breaking down exactly every pass that Bo Perbula and Sam Horn throw on the Mizzou post game right here on STL Sports Central. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell button so you know when we're going live after that game tonight.
Don't forget to get your tickets for the Stiefel Charity Classic at StiefelCharityClassic.com. And don't forget to play at DraftKings Pick 6, where the crown is yours. See you tomorrow.